I'm at work every day, all day, but I don't do anything, and it's actually way harder. Because the easy thing to do is get out of the way, I'll do it faster, I'll do it better, I'll understand it more.
Right.
But in order to really scale and build something, that's not the best way to do it.
Welcome to Money Market, a Bank of Tampa podcast. We highlight the businesses, expert business advice, the local economy, and points of interest in the Tampa Bay market. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or pretty much wherever. Make sure you share this episode with a friend or colleague. I'm your host, Owen LaFave, the Pinellas County Market President for the Bank of Tampa, Tampa Bay's oldest and largest community bank. Today's guest is the CEO of Franklin Street, a full-service commercial real estate firm based in Tampa with offices around the country. Andrew is also the co-founder and CEO of Ally Capital. He was voted Real Estate Forum's Best Boss of the Year and is one of Florida Trend's 500 most influential people in Florida. Our guest has many other impressive accolades, but one I want to reference. Many moons ago, you were the Tampa Bay Business Journal's 25 People to Watch. I know that was a long time ago, and you've come far since then. The reason I want to mention that is I, too, once was one of those 25 people. And when you clicked on my hyperlink, it said, married to Jessica Muroff, CEO of United Way. They have 4 kids. Nothing about me, but so Andrew, welcome to Money Market.
Hey, good to be here.
Yeah, no,
not too dissimilar from mine. You're the one with 5 daughters. Yeah, that's me. That's me.
It is, man. It is a lot. So, is there a boy in the future, or are you just giving up?
No. I think 5 is more than any
5 is plenty.
Reasonable person should have. It's great. We love it. Excited to have it, but it's definitely a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. But so, how old were you when you started Franklin Street? I mean, I feel like you're a baby. I mean, you're a young guy. You're a little younger than I am, but I mean, it was pretty exceptional. 26
years old.
Wow.
So seems like yesterday and seems like forever ago, all at the same time.
What did you see in the market at 26 that you thought, I'm going to do this? I'm going to compete against the Colliers and Cushmans and.
Well, I don't know that it was something in the market per se. I think there was a couple things. One, I've always been very entrepreneurial, been very motivated, and loved real estate. Mm-hmm. Started out in the brokerage business, great place to be, and had a lot of success early on in my career. I think one of the best things about brokerage is you get a lot of reps. You get to see a lot of different things.
Yeah. If
you just have your own portfolio, you get to work on the same 5 deals. In the transaction business, you see it all.
Right.
And going through that process, a couple things were highlighted to me. One, I thought the company I worked at was flawed in their strategy. It was kind of a one-stop shop. Are you buying? Are you selling? No. Okay, what do? You buying or selling? Are you buying or selling? And I thought, there's a lot more involved with real estate. And so I wrote a business plan kind of around that, a little bit more offensive and defensive businesses, vertical integration, problem-solving, advisory, and then income streams that are non-correlated to the real estate market. So we have a big insurance practice. We write $350 million in premiums, property premiums a year, and real estate insurance in Florida is very important to real estate. So
yes,
I think it was a combination of, I thought the business that I was at was not didn't have the best strategy.
Okay.
And also kind of youthful ignorance. Had a lot of success early on and thought I could just jump right in. Didn't know 100% what I was getting into, but glad I did it.
Now, it was around the Great Recession, right? Or was it coming out of it? I mean,
it was right in front of it. So I got married to my college sweetheart in November of 2006. I founded Franklin Street, Miami, Ohio.
Miami, Ohio.
I grew up born a Buckeye, always a Buckeye. It's kind of a cult. It's one of those things where I don't remember becoming a fan. Just always been one. And I am a diehard Ohio State fan. But we met at Miami, Ohio, and we moved to Florida together. And we got married at November of 2006. Started Franklin Street December of 2006. Had my first child December of 2007. So it was right before the great financial crisis. So it's just in time for me to launch. The first line of business was a mortgage banking business. Mm-hmm. If I'm selling a property for you as a broker, the next natural question is who's financing it.
Right.
And at that time, CMBS was all the rage. Yes. And if you had a heartbeat, they'd give you a 90% loan, 10-year IO.
No guarantees.
Yeah, exactly.
No recourse.
Barely need financial statements. And that was a great time to kind of launch it. And right as I was getting going, right as I had my first child, April of 2008 came, and then August of 2008 came, and world changed pretty quick from there.
So you didn't start with the brokerage side. You started with the
No, the brokerage didn't come in until middle of the recession. So I started with the financing side. The next business was actually the insurance business, kind of similarly. Why do people get insurance primarily? Because their lender requires it. Mm-hmm. So going back to the vertical integration of Franklin Street, each point of sale, there's another need that the client has. It's not too dissimilar from banking that provides a lot of different solutions, not just deposits or not just lending. Similar on the real estate side. Someone's got to manage it. Someone's got to insure it. Someone's got to lease it. Someone built it. Someone's going to sell it to you. There are a number of things to consider through real estate. And that's kind of how we built it. But insurance was kind of next up.
Okay.
And, getting into the insurance business at roughly 27 years old and it being foreign, I guess would be the word. I mean, what do you know about insurance?
A lot of regulations, sure.
Yeah, as a 27-year-old, what do you know about insurance? But it was one of the smartest things I had done because as we were just getting that business built 2007 into 2008, the transactions started to fall off at that exact time, right? Everything went off like a light switch. And so, now I find myself married with a child, underwater on a house I had purchased and a company that I had started. And, the walls are coming in on me.
I promise, babe, it's going to be great. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was the other way around. She was telling me, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine.
Well, that's good.
It is. That's one of the big parts of how I got here. But, ultimately the insurance business was resilient. People needed to have it. We were very innovative in the way that we do it because we're not, Brown & Brown or IOA or Willis. We have to have a better product. Every other part of the Franklin Street ecosystem is a service. Hire me to sell it, I'll do a great job. Hire me to finance it, I'll do a great job. Hire me to lease it, I'll do a great job. In insurance, at the point of sale, you know exactly what you're getting. I could be the worst salesperson in the world, but if I got a policy that meets your lender's requirement at half the cost, I'm your new best friend. That's not how it is in the rest of the business.
But it's amazing how many people don't know. And we've experienced 2 hurricanes, and nobody knows what's in their policy.
I've been saying for years publicly and every speech I've given that insurance is at a crisis level.
Yeah.
Literally every speech for 7 years I've been talking about this exact concept. And unfortunately, it takes tragedy for people to really understand, right? Because
unfortunately,
it's gone up 200-300%. And while they're paying substantially more than they've ever paid, they're also getting worse coverage. So many people are finding out that despite the fact that they're paying these exorbitant costs, it doesn't even cover 2 of the biggest storm events that we've had in our area in a while.
And not understanding because, they'll sit down with their insurance broker and the guy's like, hey, man, I saved you like how many thousands of dollars worth of premium? And it's like, I don't have any coverage. Like, thanks, but.
Well, it's funny, the before and afters, you have people who call upset about their premium. I can't believe it's so high. And then after the storm calls, they're like, thank you so much for ensuring that we had this. That's human nature.
It is. And I have also experienced for the first time over the last, I would say like 3, maybe even 4 years of people getting their insurance premiums and deciding, people of means that I'm just going to pay off. This is insane. And here they are and self-insured and some of them got lucky and a lot of them didn't, unfortunately.
Very common today.
So what the insurance piece of the business? What sets you apart from the Brown and Browns and the other?
Well, we're they're insurance people in the real estate business. We're real estate people in the insurance business. We talk in price per unit and price per foot, not price per thousand of risk. We understand the needs. Portfolio management, additions, deletions. This is what we do. We're not selling you health insurance. We're not selling you D&O insurance. We're not selling you anything but property and property-related coverages. And so as a result of that, being born of a culture of a real estate business, we understand it like no one else. And we're in the complicated areas. You don't really need some – I have a saying, expertise is only valued when it's needed.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're in an admitted market where you can go to State Farm and get your insurance – you don't need an expert. Just go to the online portal, type it in, get what you want. In what we call excess and surplus markets, which Florida is one of those. And I do, just to be clear, we're talking about homeowners somewhat. We're exclusively commercial property insurance, apartments, shopping centers, office buildings.
But I think people can relate to the homeowners.
Yeah, I can. I can relate to it. I live it like everyone else. But excess and surplus markets are kind of like the if I were to analogize it to banking, you have your Bank of America and your Wells Fargo, the big ones that everyone's heard of, and then you have a million community banks, a million local banks that haven't, and so they operate, they get aggregated through a wholesale market, so they're kind of organizing the underwriters. And then our retail brokerage is finding the clients. And so we come together. So because of that, there's a lot more complexity. It's kind of like participating loans, people taking pieces of sections of risk, different corridors, different appetites. And
level of sophistication.
Right. And so since that's all we do, and since it's a commodity business, we have to be good at it. Why would we sell $350 million in property premium if we weren't the best at it, right?
Right.
So it's
you're doing something right.
It's unfortunate that we have to, that it is so complicated and it has to be so much. But and premiums going up 300% has tremendous impact to value, to debt service coverage, to risk tolerance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a big part of our business.
I mean, projects have died because of insurance premiums, and I'll equate it to the same thing as banking. So I mean, I say all the time, like if someone has $20,000 needed car loan, we are not the bank for them. If they want some expertise and that kind of a hands-on holding and that consultative approach, we can talk through your business needs, your working capital, your cash flow, and figure out how we can help you get to accomplish your goals. So I mean, kind of very similar, that consultative level of sophistication that the average person doesn't need.
Expertise is only valued when it's needed.
I love it. I'm going to steal that. I will credit you every time I say it, though. Where did the brokerage piece come in?
So 2008. So when the market collapsed, so I started with the mortgage business, then we got into the insurance business, and then the world collapsed. And it was very, personally a very trying time for me because, I was a kid. I had kind of been to the top of the mountain and thought of, that youthful arrogance, found out like, hey, maybe it wasn't me, maybe it was the market. And now it's crashing down around me. And a lot goes through your mind about like what you want to get into. The insurance business was brand new to us. And it was, it's like a boat sinking. And right before the last, time it's underwater, you step onto the next boat. That was 2008 for me in the insurance business. And once you kind of get your sea legs back and you're like, okay, I'm on this next boat. What's next? Well, brokerage was basically down to zero. There were no transactions. The bid ask was so far apart, it fell off a cliff in an instant. Mm-hmm. And one of the hard parts about recruiting brokers is they always have pipelines. Yep. So it's not like, I go buy a hamburger and I close it today. I'm working on it. In 7 months, I'll make a large check. It's hard to leave because you're always tied to that pipeline, and companies make it difficult to separate and the golden handcuffs. But in the middle of 2008, there was none of that.
There's nothing.
So one of the guys,
I guess, great time to start.
Great time to start. Yeah. One of the guys that had hired me out of college, Darren Catan, and then we were partners for 5 years at my previous firm, and then I started Franklin Street, and then he came over with another gentleman, Bob Goldfinger, to launch our investment sale business in the middle of 2008. And it was a huge shot in the arm for Franklin Street at large because they were
was that just specifically multifamily? Because I know
it was. That was to this point. The story was almost all apartments. My background was in apartments while I was brokering. A lot of our financings were around apartments. Insurance was a lot around apartments. 2009, when we started getting into the retail, we expanded to Atlanta and the retail business, and so that was. Then we started bringing on people in Tampa and retail, and I learned the tenant rep side of the business. Leasing apartments is not like leasing shopping centers.
Very different.
And the agency side of it is not the same. Representing the building is not like representing the tenant. People don't realize, occupiers of real estate are in the real estate business. Mm-hmm. The complexities of leases, the rollovers, the costs, the requirements. There's so many things that are on the occupier side that, as an apartment broker, I didn't understand at that moment.
Yeah,
but
you don't need to know.
But in the middle of 2008, they came over and started the investment sale business, and that was a shot in the arm for our insurance business because no one wants to talk to their insurance agent, just as a general statement. It's kind of funny if I'm at a cocktail party and I don't want to talk to someone, and they ask me like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I'm in insurance." If I tell them in real estate, they want to talk. Right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
But it was the ability for the investment sale brokers who have the relationships with owners to walk in the solution of the insurance at a time when it was similar to now, it was skyrocketing up after the hurricanes of 5 and 6. It was just a very powerful way for us to expand our business and really launched us out from there.
Wow. I know it was very strategic, and I'm sure at times it seemed like the world was ending, but you kind of took the right steps at the right time.
You have a plan, and then everyone's got a plan until they get hit in the nose, and you just got to hold on, and it worked. That was probably 2014. I wake up, and we had opened offices across Florida and Atlanta. We were multiple product types. We added property management, we added project management, we added, as I mentioned, the tenant rep side of it. We had the office industrial products, and then managing different geographies. Right. Running a business in Tampa with 20 people is not like running 450 people across 10 offices across 7 different businesses.
Well, so talk about that a little bit in the scale. Like where are you at? What businesses are you in? What cities?
Yeah, so we have offices in Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Atlanta, Austin, Charlotte, Nashville, and most recently Cincinnati. And we want to build out full service in all of those geographic locations, but certain businesses are more local. By way of example, if you're an agency leasing broker, if I'm leasing an office building for someone, hard for me to be the office leasing broker in Tampa for a property that's in Atlanta or in Austin. That being said, insurance, I can write insurance in 42 states, right from Tampa. Financing, money travels, across state lines as well. So we try to balance the appropriate coverage of of our service offering with kind of the needs of the market and the client. Different size of markets, different what's customary in various markets also evolves and adapts.
Okay. Let's talk about Cincinnati for a minute, because you just bought a student housing group there.
Yes.
So that's the flag in the ground there. So hopefully full service at one point. Mm-hmm. What goes into the thought process of let's do a lift out, let's buy a team, the costs, your return period? Because we see a lot. A lot of that has happened in the market recently here in Tampa. So what's the evaluation process that you look at?
Well, I think number one is culture. You have to make sure that someone is aligned with your beliefs and what you're trying to accomplish. That is, even if you have one of the best talented people around, if you're not aligned, you don't have the same beliefs, it's not going to work. So I would say it starts with that. Beyond that, it's trying to fill out service offerings, service platforms. There's the economics of a deal, right? We can talk a little bit about that, but really it's trying to figure out how we get more margin off of the same fixed cost base.
Okay.
If I made it, in financial terms, we built a tremendous infrastructure. Businesses kind of get to a crossroads, and sometimes they think bigger is better. That's not necessarily the case. Better is better.
Right.
A lot of times when you try to get to the next size level, you don't understand the investment that it takes, the financial investment that it takes to be able to compete in that next, echelon. And that's the story I've been punching up my whole career, and trying to figure that out. But we just celebrated our 18th birthday last week. We're not a startup any longer.
No, far beyond that.
We have substantial infrastructure. Yeah. And so now scaling is much easier. For us to bring on a team in Cincinnati and bring them on into our culture and our platform and our systems is seamless. And so we're looking for that. We're looking for the right cultural fit, and we're looking for service offerings to complete it. If I had one retail broker in Atlanta and one apartment broker in Tampa and one office broker in Austin, it's hard for us to be a solution-oriented, for a client that's multi-location. But if I have apartment coverage in all markets, if I have retail coverage in all markets, that allows us to be better serving our clients. And then within each product type, multifamily, there's a lot of subsects of that. And student housing is one of those. You think about data centers, power centers. Mm-hmm. Those are all the rage now. Small bay industrial. Yeah. So some of that specialized real estate is also, you can leverage the infrastructure of all the apartments and all the network of the teams and the boots on the ground, and have your subject matter expert that can really lead that effort across the country.
Is that your first foray into student housing as an organization?
It is.
Okay.
Back in my brokerage days, when I was prior to Franklin Street, I sold several student housing deals in Tallahassee and Gainesville. So outside of my direct experience, it's a whole new thing for Franklin Street.
Okay. Now you stepped away 16 months ago. What was the thought process there in stepping away, and then what brought you back?
So I really stepped away about 3 years ago.
Okay, was that long ago? Okay.
And I was out for about 16 years. I think
time flies.
Building an operating business over 16 years it's a lot. Yeah. And I have many things going on in my life beyond the day-to-day of running a business. And sometimes, what gets you here won't get you there. I think there's other things I was wanting. I'm never going to sell it, so I think that's an important piece. I believe I'm building an ecosystem. I can talk about my personal goals, business goals, but it's important to me. And if I sold it and got a bunch of money, what would I do with it? I like the utility of it. I like the ability to transform the community. I like what it helps us do broadly in terms of just changing people's lives. I mean, we're not saving babies. No one's dying on the table here. But if you get a lot of like-minded people who are able to come, find a career, build wealth for themselves, have a family, support their community through that success, it is the widget. It's a job. But we want things that are more than that. And when you live that day to day, it takes a lot out of you, right? You always are
I can imagine. 400 people you said?
450, in that business.
Yeah.
And separately, I'm on the investment. Franklin Street owns nothing; it's all services.
Right.
It serves owners and occupiers of real estate. Ally Capital is an investment company. Mm-hmm. We're principals. We don't provide any services. We find deals, we investment manage, and we raise money. That's basically that business. I can run $50 billion with 40 people in the investment business. And, if I wanted to do that on the brokerage side, it's, thousands of people, big difference.
Yeah.
And so it was a combination of, I've been doing it for a long time and wanted maybe a break of the pace of my life.
Okay.
It was also, I thought, the right time. You have great leadership that have been with me for a long time. And in order sometimes for people to ascend, you got to get out of the way.
Right.
not for lack of love. I'm still the chairman of the board. I've always been. I was always involved in the governance, the finances, the legal elements of it. But the day-to-day operation, I think it was time for other people to kind of realize their opportunity. And, we went forward with that for 16 months. At that time, you think when you're leaving, I'd never stepped away from a company that I had founded before and loved so much. I didn't want to overshadow it. Yeah. Well, it's more of like, what's the right way to do it? I don't know. I've learned a lot over this, but I have a very strong personality. I take up all the air in the room, particularly in a Franklin Street meeting. People are looking to me for certain things, and so I took the approach of dropping the mic and walking out. Engaging in the leadership circles, but not necessarily being visible to the company, both in terms of time or just visibility. And 16 months in, my successor had a personal problem that made it unable for him to continue doing that job. And so because I cared so much about it, I was back from the moment I found out to the moment I was back was about a day less, in my mind, it was immediate. And, why I came back is kind of secondary to like what I found when I came back. And I don't have a product business. We're not service. I use an iPhone. I don't remember who sold me the iPhone. They may have had a terrible experience buying it. Guess what? I'm going to get another one. Right. Because I'm tied to the product, right? Services are people. It's emotion. It's how you feel. It's what you're part of. It's communal. It's being, having purpose. And if you lose that, then you kind of start to lose everything, right? We could be out of business next week if people stop believing in what we were doing. They don't need to be there. They don't need me to be successful. They don't need Franklin Street to be successful. Why do they choose to be there?
So did you feel like when you came back that
it had been lost? Well, and not out. It was like, it was a raging fire when I left, and it was kind of down to a pilot light when I came back, and it was all in the little things. And so, came back, hair on fire, making substantial changes, right away, kind of in my leadership style. And
how would you define your leadership style? Like, what's unique about it?
Well, I'm aggressive. I'm demanding. I'm respectful.
I can't see that at all.
And I'm supportive. Yeah. I think those are all important things. People didn't come to work with me to be my friends. And don't misinterpret that. I want people to like me. I want to be friendly. I treat everyone with respect. I'm never insulting somebody. But they came to do great things. And doing great things is hard. Getting feedback. I'm very direct. I don't beat around the bush. You don't have to worry about what I'm thinking. And sometimes that's, particularly when I first know someone, it creates a little bit of friction because they're like, is he always like this? And I am, yes, is the answer to that. But when you do wrong, I don't just step on you and tell you how terrible you are. I mean, I think it's very important. If I'm 100% right and you're 100% wrong and you leave a meeting with me deflated, did I win? That's not the idea. The idea is that, look, yesterday's home runs don't win tomorrow's games, and if you did something wrong, do something about it. Right. It's not about me. It's about them. It's about their career. It's about their future, and I'm going to call out things that I think are not going to be conducive to their future success. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. Time will tell in certain areas, but over time, people build trust. And they understand that I'm trying to help them because I genuinely am. I want everything. I don't know how it happened. I'm a middle-class kid from Ohio. I've exceeded every goal that I've ever had in my life a long time ago. You hit that crossroads and you kind of decide, like, what do I want to do now? Do I sell everything and just sit on a boat? Or do I continue to push down? Like,
that's
what's important?
Yeah.
No, I care about being with people. My great moments I want to celebrate. My bad moments I want to commiserate. If I'm in a hole, some people pull you out of it. But they're also a big source of my frustration. Sure. And I like being challenged. I don't care about the layup that I hit or what I did yesterday. I care about being challenged and pushing. Because for this time, I can, and I'm going to. And so the people that are around me, they feel that. They understand that, and they want to be part of that. I mean, sometimes I'll give speeches in front of the whole company. It's like, if you're not on board with that, just quit. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm being serious in the sense of it's not for everyone. No, everyone wants to live that life. I mean, I have family members, friends that don't want to live the type of sacrifice that it takes to be successful. But the people that stay, that's what they're looking for. And once they realize that,
people that get the culture,
I'm not here for any personal accolade. I'm not here for my own self gratification or money. That I'm really there because I'm investing in trying to build something special. Once they get that, everything changes in that relationship.
Yeah, well, I mean, I could tell you, I've known you probably 15 or 16 years, and we've had good times together, and I have frustrated you at times, and we've had some challenges, and we are, we're sitting in a room together, and we're having a good conversation.
I'm a big fan of yours. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's mutual. It's mutual. How would you say your leadership has changed? I mean, going from that kind of small, brokerage shop for mortgage lending to what you have today. I mean, how have you evolved as a leader?
A lot. When you're young and you don't know any better, I come from a great middle class background with a great head on my shoulders, a great moral compass, good luck.
Right.
You know,
Attaboy.
yeah,
Go get him.
And so I think when you're coming up in that environment and you're trying to find yourself, you're a lot more rigid because you know you're just demanding and you're pressing. And I was more short-tempered. I was more aggressive. If you can believe it, I was pretty assertive, and at a young age. And now, fast forward, I was the 10-foot tall basketball player. Now I'm the coach. I say it all the time. I don't do any work, and people think I'm being funny, like, oh, I'm just like sitting around. No, like I'm at work every day, all day, but I don't do anything, and it's actually way harder. Because the easy thing to do is get out of the way. I'll do it faster. I'll do it better. I'll understand it more.
Right.
But in order to really scale and build something, that's not the best way to do it.
You have to teach and empower your people.
And so when you have 20 people, do exactly what I told you. And then if it doesn't work, come back and report back. And if it does work, come back and report back. And I'll tell you exactly what to do next.
Right.
And I just micromanage everybody in every place all the time. And it was effective. So that's the other part. If it didn't work, I probably would have changed, but it was effective in that management style. But it creates, I'm irreplaceable, which is not a good thing.
Right.
It creates dependency. People don't want to think for themselves. They don't want disapproval from me. They don't want to upset me. They don't want, they want to do a great job, and they're afraid to not. Let me check with Andrew first. Let me check with Andrew first. You kind of hit that threshold. Well, how do you grow? And one of the hardest things as you grow through that is you're making a mistake that I know you're making, and I could prevent you from making, but I have to allow you to make it. It's like
it's like parenting, right? You do the same thing with your kids. You see it happening, and sometimes you step in and intervene because you see the train coming, and other times it's not going to be that bad, but it's not going to be good.
It's still painful, and just like with kids,
yes.
It's still painful to watch people have their own growth moments and get through tough times. But perseverance, adaptability, commitment, those are all things that you don't learn when it's easy.
Right.
You learn when you kind of have some adversity. And so allowing that to happen was a big part of the evolution of my leadership style. And so fast forward today, right, coming back to the business and 2.0 and thinking about, I mic dropped last time and stepping out in 18 months. And there's no time frame. I'm the CEO of the company, and I will continue to be as long as I feel I need to be. But I'm waiting for someone to come take that seat. I'm trying to develop leadership in a much more broad way. Rather than walking out and dropping the mic, now I have regular meetings with all the leadership teams that are more mentorship. Historically, because I'm so busy with time, I have large meetings that we cover lots of things, and we're very transparent. And I have almost no one-on-one meetings. Because if I have to say something one-on-one, why don't we all need to tell you, to tell them, to tell them, to tell them? I just didn't believe in that. But in my new style, it's kind of the opposite. I don't need to sit in the big meetings with everybody. What they need from me is guidance, reassurance, strategy, more advanced things, people, right? How to manage people. And it's tough, right? I mean, managing people is the hardest, whether it's your kids, your wife. Managing relationships is an art that I'm forever trying to master and don't know that I ever will.
You probably won't. I always say it's the best and worst part.
Well, people change.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other part. Once they can figure it out, they change. And so, and I change, right? So there's a lot, there's a lot that goes into it, but I think there are some absolutes. And I think once you lock into some of those things and really are convicted about it, it helps people grow in their leadership and management of others.
No, thank you for that. So I want to pivot a little bit. So you've got LA Capital, which you mentioned. You're heavily invested in real estate. Everyone nationally, at least, is talking about, in markets around the country are having challenges with office. I wouldn't say that Tampa does necessarily, or Tampa Bay does necessarily, a little bit of a different. But how are you feeling about the office market in particular?
Short answer to that is I feel great about it,
okay.
And I'll elaborate. But there are the haves and have-nots. Over time, the use of real estate changes and evolves. We used to go to Blockbuster Video, and now they're all gone, right? But there's still land there. There's still probably a building there. There's a new business there. It's reinvented. They're not making any more of it. So kind of go back to that. And I have a belief that human beings want to be together. So you kind of put all those things together, in a bucket, even if you're as efficient at home. Even if you could do your job at home, even if you're a sole proprietor, I don't believe that it's good for human beings to sit in a room for 10 hours a day staring at a computer without interaction. Just saying to each other a little smile, saying hello. Did you see the game last night? Talking about a little story about a funny thing that happened at dinner or where you're going. Those little interactions are so important. And I think that's an absolute truth. I think that work from home is one of those things that sounds better than the reality of it. Mm-hmm. It's not that great. How does a young person learn? How do you develop a relationship with a client?
How do you instill culture?
How do you instill culture? I mean, it's a fallacy to say that return to office is not coming. And now it's factually, the data says
it's starting to go.
They're coming back. Even large institutions, even governmental institutions are requiring it to come back. And, is it more productive as well? I believe that it is. That doesn't mean that it's true for 100% of people, but on the averages, people are more productive when they're in their office, in my opinion. With all that being said, call centers where they don't really matter. If you have a call center in the middle of nowhere, that's now called land. That's no longer an office building, right? But well-located office buildings that have amenities either directly or adjacent to, those are going to continue to thrive. And correctly, Florida is not what's going on in the rest of the world.
Right.
So as an overall investment class, if I owned a bunch of office buildings in Manhattan, I'm probably not loving that. But buying some irreplaceable buildings in the Tampa Bay area or in Florida, I think that's a great strategy. And then it all comes down to what price. Retail was in a similar place in 2019. Everyone was
retail apocalypse, right?
No one's going.
Right.
It's Uber everything. It's Amazon everything. And so capital stopped flowing into it. Development slowed down into that space. Now COVID comes. Now it's really dead, right? I mean, no one's going back to a store ever. Fast forward to today, those businesses through COVID became battle hardened. So they were tried to make sure the bad concepts failed, the good concepts reinvented themselves. They want to grow. There's not enough space. And the best performing asset class over the last several years probably is industrial, but right behind it, I would say, is retail.
Yeah.
And it continues on, right? Office, I think, is going to be in a very similar place where there's been such a negative feeling around office as institutions have to manage their allocations down from it, and as tenants are rethinking their space and the utilization of it, there's been such a negative connotation that you have great values. We bought the Urban Center at over an 8 cap, at 88% occupied.
Mm-hmm.
I kept saying to my team, what am I missing? It's just that it's office. Oh, well, in that case, right? So I think you have to be careful. You have to buy the right buildings. Like I said, highly amenitized or good adjacencies, things that are in good locations that going back to people want to be in good places. But there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm very bullish on that going forward.
No, and the Austin Center too. I mean, I want to give you a compliment on that one because it is in the heart. And I mean, in 1967, now Austin, developed that, which then became the center of what is now the largest, office market in the state of Florida. And I teased you one time. I was sitting with a friend, and he's like, I can't believe you said that. And I'm like, Andrew knows, but we were at First Watch. I don't know if you remember. And I'm like, nice job. I'm like, nice job putting lipstick on a pig. It's a damn pretty pig. You've done a hell of a job with it, especially with the addition of the restaurants. But even walking through that 50-year-old office space, the areas that have been renovated, it doesn't feel like a 50-year-old space. I guess approaching that, because I know Redstone he purchased it from Redstone, and they were talking about redeveloping it, and they were in talks with Publix at one point in time before they developed out on Kennedy. But the renovation, the addition of the restaurant you're an owner in, which I want to talk about, the First Watch, instead of just a full total redevelopment like a Midtown. What was the analysis there?
Well, a couple things. First, you weren't the only person that thought I was crazy when I'm buying a 30% occupied building that's asbestos filled and hadn't been maintained in years, and different colors of brown, and parking lot of disaster.
It's vintage. It's vintage.
I could keep rolling on all the challenges. Every roof had to be replaced, all the AC. I mean, a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah.
And so you're staring at that, going why don't I tear it down?
Yeah.
Why am I going to put all this money into it? But
you had a vision.
I think West Shore is in the beginning stages of its renaissance. It's about to be reimagined over the next 10 to 15 years at a very large scale. And good ideas need to wait for their time. You have a great idea. If it's not the right time for you, you got to wait. And I did not feel that in that moment, at that time, that redevelopment was going to be the best option for that. And if you consider other factors beyond the property, outside of just the boundary lines of what's coming in the future, that there could be a better use than just a Publix on the site. Yeah. So doing that analysis, we decided to start investing in those buildings, and the deals worked, right? The rents we were obtaining and the cost to renovate them, we slowly turned it around. The curb appeal, the exterior was a very important piece too, creating that walkway, that kind of central spine to allow pedestrians to navigate through the parking lot, the addition of restaurants going back to amenities, and then the spaces themselves. And probably the biggest thing that we have that's not talked about at that building is the surface level parking.
A lot of parking. Yeah, a lot of
your
parking.
ability to just park on the ground, walk into your building. You don't have to queue in a garage for 30 minutes to get out. You don't have to drive 20 minutes around to find a spot. The convenience of it is second to none. And people kind of living from all over the area. You have someone who lives in St. Pete and employees that live in Clearwater, employees that live up in Lutz, employees that live in Riverview. It's the best for everyone. So it's turned out to be a phenomenal project for us economically. And at some point, is it going to be developed? Yes. I mean, 300,000 square feet on 10.5 acres. At some point, the land value will eclipse the economic value of the buildings.
Sure.
So it's kind of like the lottery ticket in the background. I'm making a bunch of money on it now, and
it's land play.
We'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah. No, you're right about the. Only because I just went to the Tampa Club, so the Bank of America building. That is the one building with the parking garage that I refuse to park in because you get vertigo. I mean, you have to go up I think you have to go up 8 to 10 stories before you even, you're in the parking garage. Not a fan. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
No, I think, we've hit a lot. I mean, there's a lot more we could sit and talk about.
Oh, we could do this for another hour.
I could easily sit and talk for another hour, but no, I appreciate you having me on. It's amazing that we have known each other as long as we have.
It is kind of surprising.
And you kind of watch people's careers kind of go over time, and proud of you for doing all this, and happy to be here today.
No, man, I'm proud of you to see you grow and your family grow and just the success you've had. So it's and thank you for everything you do for Tampa and just giving back to the community and making Tampa a better place. People want to find you, Andrew. Where can they find you?
Our website, franklinst.com, like Franklin Street, www.franklinst.com is the best way to get my contact information and get in touch with me.
And I know you're busy, so everybody knows.
Yeah, but I always make time for people. So I may be busy, but I think it's really important. The more success you have, the more isolated or lonely you can become because people don't, they treat you differently. It's the fact of the matter. And I don't like that. It is what it is. So I always tell people, come talk to me about anything. I'm just like, what's there to?
You're very open.
Yeah, come talk to me.
You've always been
happy to be. So reach out to me.
I think maybe that big personality makes people a little intimidated sometimes, but
it's all bark no bite.
He's a good guy. But I appreciate you coming on Money Market.
Glad to be here.
If you have a question or future show idea or would like to be a sponsor, you can send us a message at moneymarket@bankoftampa.com. You can find us on LinkedIn, X, Facebook, and on Instagram at Bank of Tampa, and of course online at bankoftampa.com. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you around in the Money Market.